Presidents have responsibilities to deal with other countries too, to interact with other countries in a diplomatic way. We talk about diplomacy or diplomatic responsibilities. We're talking about interactions between that are being led by the president on behalf of the United States and other countries. So there's definitely different forms this takes. Oftentimes, the United States government, through the president, can put pressure on other countries to act in a certain way. Take, for example, Ronald Reagan's famous speech in 1987. If you're not familiar, Germany was divided between two areas: East Germany, which was communist, West Germany, which was democratic, and obviously the Berlin Wall sort of divided the two. Ronald Reagan went to the Berlin Wall in 1987, gave a famous speech in which he demanded the leader of Russia at the time, Mikhail Gorbachev, tear down the Berlin Wall and sort of restore Germany and free it of communist influences. This was the famous speech that Reagan gave, putting a tremendous amount of pressure on Gorbachev to sort of do this.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
All right, so it's a famous speech by Reagan that attempted to put diplomatic pressure on the Soviet Union to act in a certain way. And it had a tremendous influence in not just putting pressure on the Soviet Union, but inspiring the people of Germany to actually tear down the Berlin Wall and reunite Germany. Other things that can happen as well in terms of diplomatic responsibilities for the president is that people acting on behalf of the president, typically the Secretary of State, who's responsible for foreign affairs, could engage in treaties, which are these formal sort of agreements between the United States and other countries to do certain things. These treaties, which are often sort of like led by the president and his office, require approval actually from the Senate in order to ratify a treaty. Again, another example of presidents sort of pushing their power to some extent is some presidents have entered into what are called executive agreements with foreign countries. Executive agreements are different than treaties because they're not called treaties. They're still agreements with foreign countries, but because you're not calling them treaties, you don't need Senate approval. So again, some people look at this as an abuse of like presidential power because you're sort of getting around what are the checks and balances that Congress has against you. Famous example of an executive agreement is NAFTA, which stands for the North American Free Trade Agreement. This was negotiated under the presidency of Bill Clinton in the 1990s. That was made with both Canada and Mexico, and it ended any kind of like tariffs between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and allowed goods to be traded freely between the three countries without extra taxes being put on them.